So, you're probably familiar with the phrase jack of all trades, master of none, right? Well, I gotta tell you, the new Roland Juno-D is seriously challenging that. It is useful to just about anyone playing or making music. It's very good at a lot of different things. So, let me take you through a few of my favorite features. Firstly, the sheer breadth of sounds on this thing is astronomical. You can see by the categories here, acoustic piano, E-piano, organ, keys, etc., etc., etc. There's a broad sonic territory covered to fit just about any need. And you can even put your own samples on here and play them chromatically as well. And since sounds are arguably the most important thing, let's jump to a good old-fashioned montage of some of my favorite sounds on board. So as you heard, an awesome variety of sounds covering a very broad spectrum. It goes way further than most keyboards or synths, and I personally think it sounds amazing. Now, speaking of areas the Juno goes further than most, this arpeggiator is crazy. Check this out. So this will just be a standard arpeggiator. But if we go into the menu system, and by the way, you can shortcut to most menus by holding menu and pressing the relevant button. When we go down, you can see it's just on simple. But look how many variations there are. There's so many different arpeggiator patterns here. How many is there? It's like 128, but there's also 8 variations of all of these patterns. So this is a very big well to explore. There's so much inspiration to be found here. And the same goes for the chord memory function. On most synths, you hold down your chord, you press the button, then you can play the chord across the keys. But check this out. So as you can hear, the chord's actually changing shapes. So if we jump into the menu, you can see that these are actually chord sets. This is from the pop minor 1 set. We can change this to something else. Jazz minor. Or what else we got in here? Jazz 2. So So that's another super useful and inspiring feature, coming up with chord progressions you might not have thought of, and particularly useful for people like me as well who aren't classically trained pianists. And you can hear the chord shape changing depending on what set you have selected. So there'll be inversions in there, probably in some of the jazz ones, they'll be augmented and diminished and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's a really amazing source of inspiration. Now, when you load up a preset on the Juno, they can be singles or multis, and they're actually called scenes. So you can see that the single button is lit right now, but if we deselect that, you can see that there is actually 7 different parts that we can play within this preset, plus a drum kit. And we can set them to split very, very easily. So that's potentially really handy for gigs. You can just line up all the sounds that you want to use within the one scene or a couple of different scenes and you're good to go. Now let's move on to the phrase pad over here. So by default, with nothing selected up the top, these are just drum sounds. So you can finger drum on them if you want, or you can go into the rhythm section and you've got some preset drum loops. So you can jam away to your heart's content over those. But let's move over to the sequencer. You can actually sequence all 8 parts of this scene. So let's just hit play. It looks like there's already one in here. Oh yeah, so that's part 1 and 2. Doesn't look like there's any drums in here, so let's see what we can do. So I can just hit record. Cool, that'll do. We can actually put in steps manually as well if we want. Say we want to put this HUD in, we can just go. Yeah, it's as simple as that. We've got lots of different kits in here as well, so let's try a few of these out. A bit nicer, isn't it? Got a bit of vibe to it. And we can mute our tracks as well. So yeah, the sequencer is surprisingly powerful, and you can actually load in your own samples on this thing as well. Go to menu, go to sample, and there's the import function there. Also worth noting for you songwriters, this has a microphone input on the back of it, so you can plug your mic in, jam over some of these sequences, or you can use the vocoder if you want to do some funky Daft Punk robot voices. For those of you who like to tweak your sounds, there is a streamlined set of synth-style controls over here, and there's enough to get you out of trouble most of the time. There's enough here to turn this piano sound into a pad sound, for instance. We can make it really slow. Then turn the reverb up. Very moody. As you just saw, I hit the knob assign button then, and this changed to functions. You can actually see those functions along the top of the screen, but what these knobs are assigned to when you press the knob assign button depends what preset you're in, and you can change it. Elsewhere, there's actually heaps of effects on board this thing as well, like vintage inspired stuff like the old Juno chorus, as well as like modern glitchy stuff like the BPM looper, which is one of my personal favorites. Very fun to explore when you've got a sequence running. A couple more things worth mentioning before we wrap up. This thing has USB audio and it's class compliant as well, so you'll be able to plug straight into your phone and record high quality audio, which is actually a really useful feature. You can keep a diary of things that you're working on really, really easily, or if you want to upload things to social media with high quality audio, Or in my case, I was sending clips to my wife to show her that I was learning her favorite Portishead track. So it's a very, very useful feature. The Juno-D comes in 88 key, 76 key, and 61 key versions. This is obviously the 61 key version. And this one has the synth style key bed, but the 88 key has the weighted key bed. It actually feels really, really nice to me. It's some of the nicer keys that I've played on a keyboard like this. Apparently they're the same keys as on the Phantom O, which is a higher end model. It's a very lightweight but sturdy feeling unit, absolutely ideal for touring or just anyone on the move. And yeah, I think that's everything that I wanted to get through today. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I really do think the Juno-D is just an amazingly useful keyboard for just about anyone playing or making music. Whether you're producing lo-fi hip-hop in your bedroom or if you're playing covers at the local pub, like both those people would find a use for the Juno. I'd love to have one of these as well. I've actually really enjoyed having it for the last couple of weeks and I would absolutely use this in my music. So that's a wrap for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Mike. I'll catch you on the next one.